So the question is my idea any good? Okay. From a startup perspective, as well as from investors' perspective. In other words, is it good enough to attract investment money? This is the battle that we all have, knowing that many founders are in startups because they want to do something massively disruptive and do something that nobody's ever seen before, like Airbnb, case in point. People in the beginning were like, you want to do what? You want to rent out an air mattress in your spare bedroom or let people sleep on your couch type thing, and then be a bed and breakfast, so serve them breakfast. Like, that's just a dumb idea, right? A lot of people flat out, their first investors said, we didn't like the idea. Well, we like the founders. So I'm going to just lay out, here's how I like to look at an idea, and immediately what goes through my mind when I'm scrubbing deals or I'm scrubbing decks or helping people get ready for investors, or socializing deals, trying to do some form of syndication and get the founders out there. So these are the three, and it's these three circles. So it starts off like this. Okay. So there are three circles that I look at, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to find this sweet spot right here. This is the sweet spot that I look for, which immediately eliminates 95% of all startups. I'm just being straightforward. 95% of all startup ideas that come to me, I just say, okay, it's not worth pursuing unless they refine it, what have you. So if the startup happens to end up in one of these quadrants here, it's a maybe, but the founder is going to have to do a lot of work. So that's how I do it. So what are the criterion that I look at? And so let me just be straightforward. So is it a bad idea? And I'm actually looking from an opinion perspective, is it a bad idea? Not, is it a good idea? There are lots of really good ideas. As soon as I hear a good idea, then everybody's doing that good idea. So if someone comes to me and says, I'm going to make NFTs because NFTs are super popular and everybody's doing NFTs, then I'm like, nah, not interested. I'm just being straightforward. I'm looking for contrarian ideas. So most contrarian ideas are bad ideas. Like people say, no, it's way too hard. You're never going to make it. Like all the reasons it's a bad idea. And one of the main reasons is because it flies under the radar. So a competitor is not looking at as part of their annual strategic plan and doesn't have $100 million to throw at it to completely outcompete you. You want an idea that a competitor would never even think about. It's so niche or just so exotic, esoteric, abstract, just crazy. Like, is this ever going to be a good idea? Like, Bitcoin was a very bad idea. Like, what the hell is Bitcoin? People, like, you've seen all the resistance. If you follow cryptocurrency, you've seen all the reasons people say Bitcoin is dumb. It's a Ponzi scheme, et cetera, et cetera. Well, look at where Bitcoin is today, right? Arguably, the catalytic technology that has spurned on, Web3. Now, Web3 is a good idea, right? So I'm looking for, is this fundamentally a bad idea? Next, okay? Even though it's a bad idea, if it just happens to work, will it change the world? Now, remember, I'm talking about these unicorn, decacorn startups. It's after decacorn. I don't know. Okay. Centicorn, I guess, or something like that. You're right. But I'm looking for these startups. So Is it a bad idea? And then, but if it just happens to get traction, and if it just happens to change people's behaviors, will it change the world? That's where I want to be visionary. I want to know the founder is like, this could change the world. And it's like crazy, crazy idea, right? Now, the last thing I look at is, can they build it? Okay. And I'm really looking at how. This is the criteria that I've now added. Normally, before I used to just look at these two circles. Now I've added the third criteria, because a lot of founders will come with these really contrarian big ideas that could change the world, but they don't have the wherewithal to build it. It's either just too big or, something along those lines, and they don't have the capacity. And I'm not saying they have to build it themselves. I'm saying they have to show they are resourceful enough to build it, to get it done. So either they're bootstrapping or, something like that. Like you're going to see later, one of the things is Braden has already built, without even having a CTO, a full-time CTO. He's been using, piecemeal. He's already started to build something that has massive amounts of traction. That's very attractive. So then now, if he's able to build that, get to this level of traction with just his resources, imagine investors are willing to pay and invest money to see if a founder can go all the way. So I'm going to release a video this week. Abesh Day with Flora. He didn't know how to code an iOS app. He didn't know hard tech. He showed me his first prototypes. They are like, it's like a little chip motherboard with all these little doohickeys hanging off of it. But he taught himself. So this gives me an idea of the resilience and the resolve of the founder, Braden's company, Resolve. Like it's all about resolve and the resilience. So now if they fall into one of these categories, say it's a bad idea, but they could build it, I'm going to help them with this aspect, right? So these are the areas. So you may have 2 out of the 3, which is fine. You're just going to need some work. And that's where founders should have a high degree of self-awareness and be open. Now, again, this is just me. This is the way that I approach it. This is what has got me this far in, my career and being a serial startup founder. And as I look back and as I think about all the founders that I've studied and I've talked to, the intersection between these 3 seems to be the sweet spot for me. So again, if you're outside of here, this is a good idea that everybody wants to do, right? It's a really good idea to build passive income with a fulfilled by Amazon business. Yeah, sure. It's a great idea. If that's what you're doing, that's not startup. That's not startup. Okay. Now, will it change the world? So if it won't change the world, okay, then what you're doing is you're not, change the world is like a 10x proposition. Change the world. If you're only 10%, it's not going to change the world, right? You may go out and be able to make something 10% better and make 10% more money. That's a great business. It's a great small business. Do that. But if you want to 10x something by an order of magnitude, what Peter Thiel talks, he goes from 0 to 1. Competition is for losers, right? He's like, you don't want to be in that space. And now he's a big swing, big hitter, type person. And then traction, you want to get traction in there. And this is my warning for founders who listen to this. If you're raising money to build it, you're probably not going to be the founder that's going to attract VC or startup investors. You may attract friends and family investors, who are going to say, I'm going to give you money so that you can go hire a dev person, or, all that stuff. There's so many complications if you don't know how to build it yourself, at least to validate. So you're looking for validation, at least to validate your assumptions. If you're raising money for a chance to go validate assumptions, go raise friends and family money, which is friends, family, and foolish money, because your rich uncle, he's willing to give you money just for you to play around the sandbox and see. I always liked you growing up, had set some money aside, for whatever, just fun, some YOLO money. Sure, you can do that, but if you are looking for serious angels or professional investors, you're not going to be able to raise money with that. So I'm gonna stop it right here and then just ask you some questions about what you think. But this is the framework in which we're looking at startups, or I look at startups, and how to determine whether you have a good idea, an investable idea or not.